let's begin. Let's begin with introductions. So please, guys who've been just promoted to the panelists, please introduce yourself and let's begin.
Hi, so Zach Leach. I'm with Catalyst Health Ventures. We're a Boston-based early stage med tech. So for us, that's primarily devices and diagnostics. From a stage standpoint, that's usually Series B or before. From a company development standpoint, I'd say definitely before FDA approval. And so somewhere in between some element of preclinical or clinical data. And for us, we usually come in with a couple $1 million initially and look to participate throughout. So me personally, I joined Catalyst last summer out of business school and have prior experience in healthcare consulting and banking.
John?
This is John. I am the principal at Filling Capital. We do medical devices, digital health, health IT. We are kind of an earlier stage fund, sort of seed AB. My background is I'm a clinician. I still practice over at the VA as an ER physician and as a teaching attending. And my background, again, I used to be a sell-side analyst at Bear and a bunch of consulting and research projects before that.
Thank you. Brian, nice to meet you. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, Julia, nice to see you again. Brian McMahon from Expert Dojo. We are an accelerator based down in Santa Monica. Obviously, as an accelerator, we're pretty early stage on the deal that we do. We do a lot in med tech, a lot in digital health, and we will work within other industries as well. We'd probably make somewhere between 80 and 100 investments in 2021. A check size 50 to 100K, and then we'll do follow-on investments of about $1 million. We don't normally go much beyond that. And big news for this year is we're going to do our first, normally our cohorts are together for many, many reasons. And this year we are going to do one cohort, which is longevity based only. So we're going to bring that in later in the year, which we're pretty excited about.
Great. And
that's because I'm getting old, by the way. It's influencing me.
Good. Anna?
Hey, Julia, good to see you again. How are you? Adam Dakin, Managing Director, Dream Adventures. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it. Good to be here again. And I'm flanked by Elliot. He's our associate. He's on. So we're a Philadelphia-based venture fund. We invest across two verticals, secure tech and health tech. Elliot and I are on the health tech team. I serve as the managing director for the vertical. And for us, health tech really is medical devices and digital health. What's unique about us, our focus is late seed Series A, but what's really unique about us is we run what you might loosely call an accelerator. We prefer to call it a growth platform alongside of the venture fund. And the fund only invests in companies that go through that growth platform. These tend to be later stage startups that are in market. They have revenue, referenceable customers, sort of well beyond the product market fit phase. They've typically raised some institutional capital. And our mission is to just rapidly accelerate their scaling and their growth through access to this really terrific stakeholder network of over 70 payers, providers, big pharma partners, large multinationals, where we get red carpet access to decision makers in those organizations, all with the goal of accelerating the commercial relationships. We do the same thing on the investor side. We have a syndicate network of over 1,000 venture funds that look at our cohorts of companies. There's typically 6 to 8 companies that we're working with at any moment in time, selected from the over 400 or so that apply. And we're super selective because at the end of the day, we're not getting much equity for the program. We make money as a venture fund. So we bring these companies into program with the lens of an investor with the goal of investing in every single company. We don't invest in every single company. We don't lead rounds. We just work like crazy to find lead investors for them. 10 years of this, companies like Redox, Tissue Analytics, Echo, Wealth, a lot of terrific companies. So we're always on the lookout for great startups. Go to dreamit.com if you're a great startup and might be interested in working with us.
Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us again. I'm happy to see you one more time at our meetup. Anna, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anam. I work at Purple Sage Ventures. We are a new fund. We are New York based, and our focus in the health space is digital health, but we also invest in the future of work and the future of education. Our mandate is we invest in companies that have that are led by diverse teams, which translates to at least has one woman co-founder, and we are super early stage. We invest about 50 to 100,000 K checks, but have room for follow-on, and we are strategic partners. So we have people we co-invest with, and we provide strategic guidance, and we usually invest in companies that are post-launch and have the product.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Jonathan Chang. I'm the CEO of Sartorian Ventures. We're based here in New York City. We structure and place debt and equity capital for early stage to middle market companies in a variety of verticals, but particularly for our meeting today. We have involvements in everything from active pharmaceutical ingredients all the way to digital technologies, as well as working with a number of science and medical based companies going through a variety of the FDA trials. We also create an immense amount of growth and value with the portfolio companies that we have, and we found quite a number of very interesting collaborations and platforms in which our companies can work with each other, mingling the technologies and platforms. So again, we deal a lot with early stage to middle market companies, but also with our venture partners. We have done well over 50 to 100 million plus financings. And I'm looking forward to meeting the companies today and learning more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, please, Corey.
Yes, hi. I'm Corey Chikowski. I manage actually a diversified portfolio for a single family office named Generations Management. And I also have my own investment firm, Grotto Capital. We invest all over the board in venture capital, private equity, lower middle market, private equity, real estate, oil and gas, public equities. We've also led some startups of our own, but we typically invest post-launch. And I personally sit on 2 boards, including of a company that's about $100 million in revenue now. I specialize in strategy and financial analysis, and I bring a lot of experience in M&A. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Kate?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So I'm a managing partner at Longevity Capital, which is part of Deep Knowledge Group. And we have a comprehensive approach to longevity, which we define as living healthier for longer. Another term is health span. And in addition to investing in companies such as in silico medicine, which is pretty well known by now, we also were among the pioneers of longevity industry open access analytics, because we have a subsidiary that publishes extensively on the topics relating to longevity, be it a specific topic or original case study. And then we also participate in a number of nonprofit collaborations, including all-party parliamentary group on longevity in UK Parliament, amongst others.
Great, thank you very much. Elliot.
Hi guys, see some familiar faces here. Nice to join again. I think Adam kind of covered the pretty good summary on Dream It Health, where we play, how we add value, but excited to hear the pitches and looking forward to another biohacking Congress. So quick intro from me.
Yeah, we are looking forward to meeting you at Biohacking Congress, and also I would like to have you as a speaker at our next panel discussion. I hope
Sure.
you'll join
That's
us.
great.
Marisa, nice to meet you. How many years I know you?
Yeah, I know. This is going to be a short introduction. The credentials of all the other panelists are fabulous, and I don't think I can match those. I'm with Golden Seeds, and we do early stage. And then also I'm an LP with Blumberg Capital and a member of WABA. My last exit was Airbnb. And so I'm interested, and then I'm also starting to invest in cryptocurrency, which is a whole different area. And I'm just interested in hearing the pitches. Golden Seeds does a lot of healthcare investment, and their check size is 250 to 2 million. So this is seed investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to see you. Lubna, you told that you will be without video. Can you just introduce yourself, Lubna?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't join by video today. I'm very happy to be here. However, I'm Lubna Dajani. I am a longtime mentor for Springboard Enterprises and a big fan of Golden Seeds, one of the greatest investment groups ever, I think. Also, I am on the advisory board and evaluator for Horizon 2020 Next Generation Internet Trust projects and other projects. And I am an advisor and a mentor on SOSV DLab. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you, Lubna, and Lujan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys. Sorry for being late. I have a little bit technical issue getting to the Zoom, and I'm the managing and funding partner of Fusion Fund. We're based in Silicon Valley, focused on seed Series A stage tech and healthcare company. So glad to join in today.
Thank you. I think we are ready to start our first pitch, and I see Simon here. Nice to meet you, Simon. Thanks for joining, and please share your screen, and here's your time. Please present Gerostate Alpha. Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for turning up, and it's a pleasure to be presenting to you today. So we're going to talk about longevity and aging and developing therapeutics for aging. At Gerostate Alpha, that's our mission statement. We want to make drugs for aging. Now, you may well be aware that over the last few years, there's been essentially a gold rush in aging research. What I mean by that is we're translating the basic biology of aging into therapeutics, and there's been an avalanche of interest and capital interested in essentially sort of trying to develop this area into active therapeutics. Now, we're not there yet, otherwise you'd all be sort of taking whatever intervention had been developed in terms of extending health span and lifespan, but there's a tangible sense that we're on the precipice of a major breakthrough in terms of developing real therapeutics targeting aging and age-related disease. Now, the genesis of Gerostate Alpha began about 2 years ago at the Buck Institute, where I'm an investigator. I've been investigating the basic biology of aging and developing therapeutics for simple animal models for my entire professional career. And about 2 years or so ago, Sam Altman from Y-Combinator came to the Buck Institute to give a seminar on how to develop or how to create startups focused on longevity. And the reason Sam came into the Institute was he knew that there was a cadre of scientists there who were focused on aging biology. They'd been starting to get interested in fostering companies in this space, but they weren't receiving very many quality applications, and they wanted to accelerate the development of companies focused on this area. So he came to the Institute and said, let's, why don't you guys put your heads together and come up with some ideas which are really good for developing therapeutics for aging. And so I went to my fellow co-founders after that, and I said, look, we've been thinking about starting a company in aging for many years now. Now seems to be the great time to do it. And so we're three people with a very deep understanding of the biology of aging and the points where you can tweak processes to develop therapeutics. We've been at the forefront of aging research for decades. And as I mentioned, we're incubating at the Buck Institute, where we're leveraging all of the inherent advantages of technology, which is at the Institute, as opposed to some generic lab space somewhere in South San Francisco. We have published more than 200 plus papers, and we've raised more than $90 million in NIH and corporate sponsored research. Actually, it's probably closer to 100 million now. The three founders are myself. As I said, I'm one of the founding faculty members at the Buck Institute. Mark Lukanik, who was on the research faculty of the Buck, but left to become full-time CTO of Gerostate, and Gordon Lithgow, who is a vice president of the Buck Institute. Now, you may just look at us and say, okay, three guys with PhDs, you know, they're fairly common in this area. They may be smart, but they don't know anything about business development. Well, our executive chair knows a lot about business development. Our executive chair is the solo founder of Sangamo Therapeutics. He's personally invested in Gerostate. He's led Sangamo Therapeutics for over 20 years before retiring as the CEO in 2016. So Edward brings a lot of business expertise and advice to our founding team, in that he's really been a fantastic source for developing our sort of long-term business strategy. He's been involved in multiple clinical trials, multiple pharma partnerships, and he led Sangamo ultimately to a multi-billion-dollar valuation when he retired. And I think the IPO was somewhere around 2011. So he brings a lot of tangible business credibility to the team. So I've been talking to you about developing therapeutics for aging. Well, why do we want to do that? Well, I mean, apart from the obvious, and I'm not going to belabor the obvious about the market size and all that sort of thing, there's a measurable functional decline with age in each of our physiologies. This is a very simple diagram illustrating to you the decline in function, which begins actually in our early 20s in terms of multiple systems in our body. And they decline at a measurable rate. And what we do is we measure that rate and we modify the slope with therapeutic interventions. And we do that actually in a variety of model systems. And it was probably the easiest one to understand is the mouse. We actually test these lifespan and health span interventions we identify in aging mice, and we change the rate of slope. So you can see here, here's a decline in function. Let's call it cardiovascular function. It's declining at a measurable rate over time. And then we put the mice on an intervention and we improve the cardiovascular function. And so this is exactly the sort of the keystone with which we sort of apply all of our efforts in Gerostate Alpha. And so we've developed essentially a three-legged stool to de-risk the technology of Gerostate Alpha. We target the disabilities of aging by these three complementary and non-overlapping drug development pipelines. This encompasses novel small molecules, off-patent approved drugs, as well as natural products. And overall, we apply these approaches in our pipeline, which we spent the last 2 years de-risking. It's a high throughput screen, ultimately, looking for extension of lifespan in a simple animal model, which is stage 1 of our pipeline. Stage 2, we identify the targets in human cells. And then stage 3, we further de-risk those targets in miniaturized organoid models of the brain, skeletal muscle, and skin, for example. But ultimately, the real proof of the pudding is whether or not the molecules do anything to health span or lifespan for multiple different physiologies in aging mice. And this is what we do really, really well. And it's very unique to Gerostate Alpha. We surveil lots of different systems, including the cardiovascular system, the skeleton, metabolic systems, neurological systems, pulmonary system, and muscles. And we do this via a series of advanced phenotyping approaches where we're looking at each of these different tissues in aging mice with or without the intervention to determine whether or not we're hitting these various different systems. Now, in the longevity space, you often hear about targeting aging. Well, this is actually really hard to do. And this is something which we've thought long and deep about and we're subject matter experts in. And what most other entities in this space will do, they will target a known area or process of aging for intervention. Let's say inflammation. Well, we know that inflammation impacts aging. And so there's a very credible approach. You could say, okay, we're going to target inflammation and we develop therapeutics around that area. But we believe that most of the major fulcrums of aging have yet to be discovered. And so our approach is assumption-free. We make no assumptions about what process we're targeting. We're looking for extension of lifespan and health span in a generic sense. And our approach is designed to discover true therapeutics, which will make you live longer and healthier. And as I said earlier, we've developed these three synergistic approaches where we have in-house drug development for novel pharmaceuticals, which obviously represent the highest value IP opportunities, licensing for other discoveries, and then natural product sales is a burgeoning area whereby we could identify natural products which improve lifespan or health span. And this is something which we're interested in doing. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Y-Combinator was very enthusiastic about our application. We've done a lot since then. We screened over 60,000 drug-like compounds for lifespan extension. We have 33 hits, which are robust and are now undergoing various different manipulations to improve their efficacy and understand how they work in aging mice. We've screened 5 off-patent FDA-approved drugs, and we have successfully demonstrated that one of them can slow bone aging. We're now confirming that in follow-up studies. We developed multiple different organoid models, and as I mentioned, we have 32 robust proprietary hits, which are now being pursued for health benefits and IP. And Y-Combinator was so enthusiastic about our initial application, they invested $1 million in us. This is very unusual. Y-Combinator's typical check size, as you probably know, is somewhere around 150,000. We were part of a special interest area of theirs where they recognized the complexity of the problem, the difficulty of what we're trying to do, and consequently, they invested a large amount of capital in us. We since raised about another $1 million in a combination of VC and other entrepreneurs. We're currently raising another $3 million to get us to Series A. And we have already raised 250 of that at a $15 million pre-money valuation. We've made the 2.1 million, which we raised initially and been running now for 2.5 years or so, go very far. We are very capital efficient. Most people, when we say that we have been around for as long as we have and generated the data which we have, are very surprised at how little money that has cost. And that's because we're incubating in the Buck Institute. We're taking advantage of all of the laboratory infrastructure there at a fair market value, but it's not possible to do that if we were incubating in some generic lab place. So we're targeting a Series A next year, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Simon. Please, investors, ask your questions. Mick, allow to show video. Allow
Hey,
investors.
Simon, good presentation. Do you have a commercialization timeline somewhere? Can we get some sense for how close any of these discoveries are to actually getting into the market?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something which I think I can answer in part by referring to some of the panel discussion highlights earlier. We believe that we can get into an IND enabling phase somewhere in the 2 to 3 year timeline, pre-Series A. So somewhere between 2 and 3 years from now, we think we'll be in an IND phase. It's very difficult to give a more precise answer than that because we currently yet don't know what our indication is. We're targeting multiple indications simultaneously. This is a very fluid landscape at the moment with regards to aging itself. The FDA is now considering multiple different aspects of the declining physiology of age as targetable because of the success in the basic biology of aging. This regulatory landscape is going to change over the next few years, for sure, particularly when we get some successes in forestalling degenerative changes associated with aging. So I think realistically, somewhere in the 2 to 3 year timeline, I don't think it's realistic to say less than that. So you have to be cognizant of the difficulty of what we're doing. But on the other hand, the rewards are crazy. I mean, you're talking about developing therapeutics for everyone on the planet. It's not just everyone watching on this call, it's everyone not watching on this call as well. This is an unprecedented market, and we're very close to getting breakthroughs in this area.
Sounds great. Any questions?
Yeah, I
Maris.
have a question. Very good presentation. Has Gerostate Alpha raised any money from the NIH? Gotten any grants from the NIH?
You mean like an SBIR? Not currently. We're going to be writing one over the course of the next few years because it's a perfect timing to do that. In terms of our personal academic history, as I said, we've raised nearly $100 million in
Yeah, I
NIH
saw
funds.
that. I was just wondering if any of that was for Gerostate.
Not yet. Gerostate, not yet.
Okay, so you have, at this point, you don't have any therapeutics developed, right? Is that correct? Or drugs?
We have not.
You have some indicators.
We have 32 hits which extend lifespan in our platform, which are currently being modified to make them more available to different tissues and so forth. So we're very far along in the drug development pipeline.
So no. I mean, you don't have anything. I think this is a question that Elliot had about. There's nothing that's commercial at this time.
Not yet, correct. That is
no. So you're looking at 2 to 3 years.
Yes, correct.
But you have great ideas.
But not
and this is a big area and it's very difficult. I realize that. I've seen a lot of presentations.
It's not really ideas, it's data. We have actually de-risked the entire platform. It's producing hits which extend lifespan. The next question is whether or not those hits translate from our animal models into human beings, which is always a binary question, right? They either succeed or they do not. We don't know the answer to that yet until you get people.
Okay, thank you.
But when you say, hey, hi, Tim Howe here. When you say hits, what are these off-label compounds? Are they drugs? What is it that is constituting the hit? Are they proprietary?
So yes, so our screen consists of a library of small drug-like molecules which we purchase from commercial vendors. Those are, and the IP of those molecules is entirely owned by us. Now, what we do is we take thousands, tens of thousands of those compounds, we run them through the platform, and we determine that a certain fraction of them, a very low proportion, extend lifespan in the front end of our platform, the simple animal models. Then we take those hits and then we look to see whether or not they're efficacious in aging mice in terms of slowing degenerative changes associated with aging. Some of those compounds which we've run have been off-patent FDA drugs, so we know that they work in people. One of those, as I mentioned in the presentation, actually slows bone aging, and we're in the process of replicating that now to confirm that. So the platform delivers hits which work in terms of slowing mammalian aging, and it's just a question of cranking the handle on the platform now to produce more hits, because the more hits we run through the platform, the higher the likelihood is that we will have a hit which translates into human biology. And this is always the question, you know, when you're launching investigations, whatever the disease is, you have to translate it from animal models into people, and that's always a binary outcome. It either works or it does not.
Okay, so 5 of them are already on the market, and so their toxicity issues are known.
Correct.
These other hits are also scrutinized in such a way at this point, or they're just
no, they have yet to go through toxicity. The 32 hits which we have which extend lifespan have yet to go through toxicity, and some fraction of those will fail, but some will work. And then it'll be very interesting to see what happens, you know, in our aging mouse screens. And that's in the next stage of development, pre-Series A.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question.
Yes.
Simon, you are definitely unique in the fact that you're not targeting anything, any specific target. I'm curious if you can explain how that works. And what exactly you mean by your technology platform. Are you just going to, if you're just, it sounds like what you're doing is you're just taking every random compound known to man and injecting them all into your technology platform, screening, whatever that is, and then seeing what has an effect on aging. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it's sort of what we're doing, except we're applying what's called a phenotypic screen. Most drug development is focused on a specific target for a specific indication. This means that you have a very narrow focus. Aging is not like that. We don't know the major mechanisms driving aging. So how can you target aging as a process to develop drugs for it? Well, one way would be to demonstrate that you can increase the lifespan of a simple model organism, which would indicate to you that you are targeting some pathway or target which modulates lifespan in that organism. And that's in fact what we've done. So we're doing something which is quite difficult. It's a phenotypic screen. We're looking for increased lifespan. That's the prism through which we look at all of our assays. If we get increased lifespan, we know we're targeting something which is relevant to the aging process. And then we move that from our simple invertebrate models into mice, and that allows us to further de-risk the hit. So it's a phenotypic screen as opposed to a specific targeted screen. But really, aging is not the result of a single process going wrong. It's the result of many things going wrong. So if you want to develop drugs for aging, you have to think of aging as a multifactorial process, not a single process. Hence the power of our screen. It's extremely very powerful for discovering new pathways and targets for aging, which we currently just don't have a good grasp of at the moment. And that's how we came up with the platform.
Hey, Simon, it's Brian here from Expert Dojo. Are any of your original investors looking to reinvest back in again? And I'm sure, I mean, people haven't mentioned it, but like there will be a kind of a thought that the valuation hasn't really increased and that it's been 2.5 years. Obviously, you've been very capital careful over the period of time, but kind of what we're looking at is more like how fast can this grow in the future? And yeah. What's your belief for the slowness? And I don't want to say slowness because that's not fair in the space that you're in, but you get the idea. Just maybe speak.
Sure. So we were looking to raise our Series A actually around February or March of last year, and we had a different valuation at that time. Then a little thing called COVID happened, and it kind of derailed everything. The labs got shut down for 3 months. You know, there was the whole landscape just shifted entirely. So the valuation which the original investors actually invested at hasn't shifted since then. And the reason it hasn't shifted is not because the value of the company hasn't increased. It has. We've done a lot more in that period. It's just that the climate around these sorts of investments has changed in that interval. And so we're pitching the valuation in reflection of that shifting landscape, not trying to stick to a previous plan, which is no longer relevant in 2021. So that's the logic for it. So you're muted, Julia.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. And I think the time is over, and we should start a second pitch.
Okay. Well, I will sign off now.
Yeah, we will follow up with investors, and we are in conversation with you. Thank you very much for joining today, and thank you for this amazing pitch.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Sami, are you here? Second startup link, please make visible. Mick, you are muted also.
We are. Sorry about that.
We have Sami.
Yeah.
Good to see. Good to meet everyone. Thank you.
Sami?
I'm sorry.
Sami?
Yes.
How should I pronounce? Sami, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Sami. It's kind of French.
Nice.
Well,
yeah, you can begin with sharing your presentation. And,
yeah, please share your screen and start your pitch.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for you and Mick and the Unicorn Lab for giving us the opportunity today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we... Can you guys hear me? See everything clear?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see you and I can hear you well. I just don't see screen yet, screen sharing, but I have some.
Julia, you're very important. I want to make sure you're on board too.
Yeah, please. I would like to see your slides as well.
I can see the screen.
Same here.
Yep, you can begin.
Perfect. Before we start, I'm just curious, how many of you guys are actually supplement consumers? Like take supplements more or less daily?
I do.
I do.
I'm the biohacker.
Every day.
Less than more.
Never.
No, me.
Great. Cool. Well, I'm very excited to show you what we're bringing to the supplement world today. My name is Sami Choura, and I am the founder of Nonstop Evolving and the creator of Vita Profile. Let me set the clock here. Okay. Our mission is to evolve the way people take dietary supplements, and this is through our first product, which we're going to see through the presentation, to leading to our vision, which is having an evolving self-actualized humanity with optimal health, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And with that, let's jump in to the problem. As we all know, there are so many dietary supplements market out there, and the market is primarily focused on sales, not on individuals' unique needs of vitamins, minerals, dosages, or actually having bioavailable ingredients. There are so many supplements to choose from, all with generic nutrition labels, talking US and outside the States as well. And most individuals, in our case, supplement consumers, aren't aware or able to achieve their own micronutrients daily values, which is unique to everybody. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Vita Profile, which is a proprietary state-of-the-art nutrients tracking system, transforming the way users take their dietary supplements. Let me jump into, this is how the Vita Profile actually looks like. This is our working prototype. What you see here on the right is the actual main page of the Vita Profile. So what is Vita Profile? Basically, it's a web-based and app-based system, allows users to truly build a personalized micronutrients profile. And by that, I mean their own profile of vitamins, minerals, you name it, phytos, any micro CBDs, mushrooms, and basically track and consume based on that profile. And they see that page, which is the Vita Profile on the right. And also we're going to jump into the other features. One of the other features is actually a dietary supplement management system, which allows user to map all the dietary supplements product, load them to the platform, and consume or track based on those products according to their profile, with reminders and all of the features that come with it. The system is patent pending with features focused primarily on dietary supplements. Eventually, we'll have the dietary supplements market integrated to the platform that rewards users for consuming and purchasing products. Let me show you a little bit more of the Vita Profile. As you can see here on the right, we have 4 screenshots. The first one on the left is the actual market, and that's going to allow users to manage all their purchasing from one place, manage all their subscription from one place to any vendors, and actually purchase product all recommended based on their own profile. So we pretty much eliminated the product rating from the game. The other two screenshots you hear here, the one you see here on the one on the top is the Vital Log, which allows user to track, actually see trends of their consumption. And what's really important here is they can actually cross-track between like omega-6 and omega-3 and really like biohack the way they actually consume supplements. Down at the bottom is the Vital Log, where user can see their progress as far as like consuming product and micronutrients per product and per date per year. And there's also a rewarding system that goes in there. That's just another layout in the white version of the Vital Profile page. And with that, let's jump to the market. The dietary supplements market is huge. It's 288 billion and it's growing. 288 billion, sorry, by 2027, and it's growing at 8% CAGR, and it's 46 billion in 2020, and that number is before COVID hit. So it's around 56 billion right now, according to NBJ. And as of 2019, we had 77% adults, US adults, consumed supplements in the United States. Here's our TAM, our SAM, and our share of market. It's 74 million users. Again, the market's huge, and we're tackling the problem of that we're after in a very unique, innovative way, and the timing couldn't be any better. Again, there's like 80% females and 75% males of those 77% who consume supplements in 2019. So who's out there when it comes to competition? I mean, those are our indirect competitors. Again, we're doing it in a completely different, innovative way. And I'd like to split those in two groups. The first one you kind of see at the bottom where Lifesum, kind of like Under Armour, Chronometer, and those guys are focused on macronutrients tracking, general health, general like recipes, diet, and kind of like weight goals management. And the other group, the ones you see were like Persona, Routine, and Biome. They're doing great work, and they're focused on precision supplements. They're also after micronutrients tracking, but they are more like manufacturing products in a personalized way, but they're very limited in the nutrients and micronutrients they actually track. So our competitive advantage is a completely micronutrients focused system with dietary supplement management system and personalized product recommendations with proprietary features focused on supplements, with our integrated dietary market supplement market, with a wealth of knowledge on micronutrients and product data, which is key. And honestly, our like secret sauce of the Vital Profile is that it compares products between multiple products, not based on like ingredients, and not just that, it also compares them based on your user profile, the Vital Profile. So our business model is a B2C subscription package. We have the basic, premium, and advanced. The first two we're going to launch, again, we're pre-launch, pre-revenue, is the Vital Profile Freemium and the Vital Profile Plus for a premium membership of $5.99 or $49.99 a year. Here are some of the features that each one has. Basically, the premium is everything in the freemium with unlimited tracking and all the features of the system. And now down the road, we're going to have the Vital Profile Unlimited, which is everything in the premium, integrating the online supplements market, which is going to have like highly bioavailable products with our partners and vendors that we're going to engage with, and our Vital Hearts rewarding system, which is actually more like monetary value, kind of like currency for rewards. And other future revenue streams is personalized ads, and vendor programs. Here's our projections for the next 4 years. In 2021, we're expecting at least 10,000 freemium users, and then 50K the next year, and 100K and 500K by year 4. And that translates to, assuming 50% conversion rate, to 5,000 premium users. That generates a 250K revenue for that year, and then growing further. Again, this is like very conservative. Honestly, I believe we're going to hit 5 million in the next, like by 2023, given like our indirect competitors and the way the market is growing and the barrier to entry that we actually have. This is our B2C yearly revenue model for our yearly subscription at $49.99. Below you see the number of users, yearly users based on that subscription. I'm shooting for 5 million users, again, based on the way the market is. And this is just how the profile is. Our cost of revenue is the app hosting and the app store fees. Development milestones, as you can see, the work has started late 2019. We started very strategically developing the prototype and the product and filing the patents, and also joining the fundraiser accelerator, the accelerator, and start fundraising late 2020. And here we are. Our goal is to actually finalize all the fundraising, because we're not in a business of making money. We want to actually develop and launch. And this is how it's going to go from the day we receive the money. It's just we're going to expand our IP portfolio, develop and launch the Vita profile by end of April, beginning of May, by the full version fully developed and launched by end of August, hire key roles right after the launch, and also grow and establish our social media presence. Our go-to-market strategy is showing here. We have we're going to target our target market via podcast, which is really something I'm very excited about given the nature of the product, and other go-to-market strategy. Our target market, you can see it here on the right, it's 80% aged between 25 and 55, mostly graduated, more than half married, and surprisingly 70% females and around 31% males. This is our CPI per iOS and Android. Of course, we're looking for other metrics as we grow further. Funding ask and use of funds. This is our first round of external funding. We're seeking $750K in seed funding, convertible note. I think I ran out of 10 minutes already. Total invested by myself, the founder, is $85K to date. Here's a profile of how the funds is going to go from the next 6 to 12 months. The funding will be used, again, to fully launch the Vita profile on both platforms, capture at least 10K freemium with 5K premium subscribers, expand our IP portfolio, hire key roles, and grow our social media presence. This is something I just added like yesterday, our high-level long-term goals. By 2022, engage with our strategic partners and launch the Vita Profile Unlimited, which I kind of forgot to mention. It has the telemedicine feature in it for a more personalized biohacking. By 2023, 2024, 2024, we're looking to have Vita Profile as the world's ultimate tool for micro tracking and supplements management, and also start our manufacturing game with highly bioavailable supplements tailored to the user's profiles and dosages needs on a subscription based on a wide scale. The team is myself. I'm the founder and technical co-founder of the company. I come from 10 plus years construction management experience, having worked in the Middle East, Europe, and of course the States. Ali Perlina is going to be the advisor. She brings tremendous value to the product. She's a CTSO at Viome. And Dr. Trevor is the mentor who was introduced to us through the accelerator. He has great experience in digital health. And with that, thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Sami. Nice presentation. Very interesting. Just one quick question on. So how do you actually measure what's being consumed? So is it based on the blood analysis, or is it based simply on the sort of labels that of supplements that person has consumed? So how is it being tracked? Just trying to understand.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works and how it comes to like measuring is basically you scan your products to the platform, and it shows them on something called the Vita Log, where you actually select the product you want to consume, select the serving, and then you swipe, and then it actually logs everything you actually consume. So basically, the connection is you swiping and you actually consuming the product, and it logs everything for you on your profile.
Cool, thanks.
So similar to MyFitnessPal then, but you're really just focusing on micronutrients in supplement intake?
Absolutely, Wesley.
How do you establish the profile? you keep saying based on the consumer's profile?
Very nice question. This is my favorite question. There's a couple of things that the profile gets established and actually evolves, and I'd love to tell you more about that. So one of the things actually can be built based on your age, gender, based on the RDIs from the FDA. The other part can be from whatever you have in your digital inventory, which we call the stash. So it can be that by default, or it can be basically what you take, because you might not care vitamin C at all. I mean, it's your Vita profile. You can do whatever you want with it. So a couple ways, and it evolves as you add more data to it. Let's say you're a Viome subscriber, you upload all the nutrients you take, and that actually make your Vita profile more intelligent in a way that actually knows you more of what you're taking. So it can recommend more, stack more, and tell you where you're exceeding and when you're not.
Do you take the diet into account?
Not really. That's kind of like a number that we take into the equation. So it's not like a 2K calories for sure.
I mean, it's not about, there are many ways to get, so when you're tying it to my profile, let's say, I'm curious to know, are you helping me just track what I'm just swallowing, or based on a trust system that I swiped and said, yeah, I took this, which I have no reason to, I don't see why one would swipe if they didn't, but
yes.
But at what point do I know if I'm taking, the problem isn't, if for me with supplements, it isn't about tracking what I took or what not. It's, am I getting the right thing? Do I really need to be taking this thing? What is the right mix? I mean, for my physiology, are you taking into account my chemistry, or you're just genetically, because I'm I fall into some a certain bucket, if you will?
Beautiful question. Thank you for asking that. So the way is depends on how much you really want to know. Like if you really want to know if you're taking the right things, you don't do the third-party test, genetic, kind of like biometric DNA, microbiome, and then you know what you actually need. On a very advanced level, that's how you know, and you integrate it to the system, because they're not providing all the supplements that you actually need when it comes to what, different third-party tests kind of like integrated. On the very basic level, based on the RDI from the FDA. Based on your age, kind of like gender and all of that.
So you mentioned you just have to swipe to select what supplements you're taking. Does that mean you've already started logging the various big brand supplements out there and all the different nutrients in it?
Absolutely, that's how the system works.
So how many have you already logged? Because the market for supplements is huge and there's new brands popping up daily.
Absolutely. So we don't actually, we're going to have our Vita Cloud, we call, but the way it works, you scan the product on the spot and it uploads it to the system. If it's a new product, it gets added to our database. If it's already in the system, it just loads the data. And you can actually...
You're using this.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. So did I answer your question?
I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, what is the big and urgent problem you're solving for the consumer, right? I mean, it sort of reminds me of fitness trackers a little bit, right? Everyone wants to be healthier, but that's not really a problem that's being solved. And it's probably why, the fitness tracker goes in the drawer. Like, I want to be healthier, but it goes in the drawer after 2 weeks. What's going to motivate? What's the problem you're really solving for me? Why am I going to, I take a couple supplements. I'm perfectly happy. They seem to work just fine. I don't really know, to be honest with you. But what's going to motivate me to get on your platform?
Thank you, Adam. I just want to make a little correction. It's not about health. We're solving a problem for dietary supplement consumers, which is ultimately about health. So the real problem we're solving here is the confusion the consumer have when it comes to selecting a product. Like, the market is chaotic and the products are not bioavailable. So we just provided that innovative tool that you can use it anywhere you go on any product in the world in a very innovative way to actually look at products, look at your profile, compare them, and select the right one for you. And if you want both of them, perfect. Log them, stack them, and see where you are. And we added on top of that, we added the dietary supplements market, which actually rewards you with Vita Heart to kind of like keep the Nonstop evolving, because you really need to take those supplements daily if you want to evolve and live to 180 according to top biohackers.
So I'm going to challenge you a little bit, okay?
Absolutely,
All right. sometimes at Dream It, we always say to our companies, what's the bet? What's the bet? What's the critical assumption that if you're wrong about, you're going to fail? Okay. You just said to me, from what I just heard, is the critical assumption is that consumers are confused. That is a huge assumption. I mean, I personally don't see that, but I'm not close to this market. What evidence do you have that consumers are confused and they're motivated to solve that, to address that confusion?
With a subscription-based app, right? This is a subscription. This is not a freebie. I'm paying you. I'm paying you a monthly or an annual fee so I can help you populate your database.
Yes,
I'm just being
help each other.
difficult.
Yeah, we
I'm
help each other. Yes.
But am I getting points or something for every time I run to the store and start scanning stuff for you?
No. That's definitely in there. The VitaHearts covers the usability of the system, but that's like the second version. On the first version, it's basically you're actually managing your products and your consumption and the products you have. And of course, the system is growing and learning more about you. And of course, us are expanding our database, which is the same case with other indirect competitors.
But I also heard you say I can take my app, scan a product while I'm at the store to decide if this is the one that fits for me, or like, should I take melatonin with this or melatonin with that or melatonin by itself? And it would know, given what else I've already scanned in and said that I'm taking, not just scanned in out of inquiry, that says, you're better off with this one rather than that one. Did I hear that?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Lubna, you did. And then back to you, Adam. So I know it's a big assumption saying that confusion is there. Being a biohacker for 2 years and being in the biohacking community, and I've had so many people like go live and actually say, so how do we know? How do we track? How do you manage? And this is, again, can be like a minor niche kind of biohacking community. But if you look at what everybody else is doing when it comes to this space, going back to Persona and all these guys, which they went to the DNA and genetic kind of like prescription, because they want to give you exactly what you need, because you don't really know what you need, right? And they kind of target it in a very closed loop kind of system. And we're coming here with a different angle, giving you the power to take control of your own micronutrients game.
Okay, I have a question. I, who have spent thousands of dollars on supplements and concierge doctors, et cetera, the issue, how do you address the issue of the delivery system for the supplement? Because you can, if you look at the label, it has whatever percentage of vitamin, let's say vitamin D, but a lot of them, which is why I went to the concierge doctors, a lot of them, you don't ever get it. So you're looking at products. That's where my confusion, and a lot of other people that I know is, so how do you know that that one is going to deliver the nutrient to you?
Beautiful question. And that's really our end goal of where we're going to go with the system, is just really have bioavailable brands, third-party tested brands. I mean, we all see what's going on with the FDA and the new commissioner and all the changes happening. They started including micronutrients. Stuff like fillers, sugary stuff are not going to be there. They're going to be a big red flag on your platform saying no, depending on that product. And eventually, once we have the whole system up with the dietary supplements market, it's just going to be very trusted vendors that really are here to promote the best out of the best to humanity.
So you're doing a rating as well of the systems, of the products?
I'm not sure I got that question. A radiant.
Rating.
Rating. Yes, absolutely. So rating is, I mean, who makes sense of 5 stars, 4 stars on a dietary supplements product? It doesn't.
So I have a question. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
please go
ahead. This actually is a follow-up question, I think, to what she's trying to ask you. So today I read an article that Goop sells the same kind of supplement. It's called One Thing, and another brand is selling the same exact product, just packaged as something else. I forget who the second company was. I'm blanking on the name, but Gwyneth Paltrow calls it sex dust, and the other one calls it something else. So I mean, how does one decide for the exact supplement, right? Who recommends that? Because technically the nutrients in each of those products are identical by the FDA standards too.
Beautiful question. Thank you, Anna, for asking that. So again, the system evolves and learns the more we use it, right? So based on the product that's out there, the product that's coming, and the nutrients, molecules, and everything, basically the nutrient ingredients and sub-ingredients. So let's say you're looking at two products with same ingredients, kind of like same, let's say melatonin, and there's just different brands, but same ingredient. Let's say it's the same component. Let's say we're looking at melatonin, but with other micronutrients. Then it takes that into account based on your profile. And then we're also keeping in mind that we're looking at that brand if they're like GMP certified, all of those other like kind of like high quality metrics, and then it compares those as well.
I just have to say, you keep going back to my profile. You keep saying to your profile, and I mean, there's a part of me that really likes what you're attempting to do, and maybe you are doing it. But for me, I wouldn't pay the $45, whatever it is, a year, a month, an eternity. Well, just to get. Well, I don't know that I would. I don't think that I would, but especially because I'm not really sure you really got my profile anywhere here. And maybe I missed something, but I just didn't hear how you're really getting a pulse on who I am. I don't care what my, I'm this age and this demographic, and therefore I'm not a cookie cutter. So that part I'm not really sure. What is the biofeedback? You're talking about the interactions, but what biofeedback loop are you? When am I telling? How are you figuring out what really worked for me and what not, and what is my true state of well-being that you keep referring to as an anchor for your product and service?
Beautiful question. Thank you. I'm glad you're not sure because I would love to.
I'm sorry, it's being difficult.
Yeah. I keep saying the my profile and the Vita profile because it's really like absorbed in me. But I'll gladly explain that the profile is your profile. Like you design it the way you want. Based on, let's say you want to take 100 milligram vitamin C, you decide how much you want to take and you track it. Remember, you're a dietary supplement consumers and you're serious about maintaining that. You build your own profile.
I think this is where you and I have a problem.
No problem.
If you think people are confused, I think people. I'm not sure where's the expertise. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think your normal doctor knows exactly what your chemistry and where you're exactly deficient and where you're not. You can describe how you feel, but if your assumption to his point earlier is that we come in knowing what I should be taking, well, I assure you, nobody will have as many empty containers of.
I love listening, like, you're talking, but you're just putting things in my mind, which I didn't say. There's no assumption that we know what you're taking or what you should take. I said by default how the system gets built and how if you want to build it based on what you're taking on your dietary supplements. Again, it's building your profile on what you're actually taking, right?
Well, that's the point. If I'm going to use your app, I'm going to want to use it because I want to know what the hell I should actually take. So I think one thing that I would suggest to you to take into account is maybe partnering with some third party, whether it's saliva testing or some other kind of an organization that would, if it's outside of the scope of your product, that would help people create a baseline from which they need to, and then maybe some kind of then I'm happy to pay you the 49 and even more.
Beautiful, Lubna. And that's how the system actually evolves. You integrate those data, like I mentioned, from Viome. I'm a Viome consumer. I upload the nutrition label that's actually unique to me, to my Vita profile. But hey, I'm not just only taking Viome. I'm not just only taking their subscription precision supplement. I'm actually taking other stuff from Bulletproof, from other companies. So how do I know if I'm overdosing? How do I know if I'm overdosing? And that's how I build my own Vita profile.
I think we need to get back here to the daily action that you would like users to take. And I want to understand, do you really understand that market and kind of that demographic? I need you to choose between the biohacking market where someone is taking supplements every day and trying to maybe track those, and then choose between a broad market where there are a lot of people, where there's a lot more assumptions you're going to have to make, and some of those may be wrong. So I think if you're going for a large market, you're going to have a different design. And if you're going for the daily biohacker, you really need to focus on or whether they're identifying as a biohacker or not, focus on their daily actions and then support those actions through the app. So I think in that sense, you're onto something. But to the point of the others on the call, there's a lot of both major and micro assumptions in your pitch and in the way that the story is presented that need to be cleaned up a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, the market is huge and there are so many different consumers.
I would also add my 2 cents here. I think it's very important to adequately measure the efficacy of the supplements that you take, right? So even if we assume that the doctor prescribes you extra vitamin D, let's say, right? Like we've had a year of pandemic and that has been a hot topic. So, and let's say I do know I need vitamin D. So then we need to actually measure that the proper dose of whatever supplement actually created the desired outcome. And I agree with the proposition that, well, let's say I'm a member of a Forward clinic in San Francisco, right? And you can go take your blood test and usually they will tell you what's wrong and you can come every month. And I'm using this just as a way of example because based on that, let's say monthly test, you would be able, based on doctor's recommendations, let's say in addition to medications, take some supplements as well. And if you marry together, so to speak, your platform with some, regular, preventive medicine platform, let's say, that is something that would create, a benchmarks when you can actually see and track the efficacy of each of the supplements.
Hey, Sami.
Yes.
First of all, congrats, because you stoked a really interesting conversation. The fact that so many people are getting so in depth on this.
I love it. Hey, again, we're discussing something I'm very obsessed with. And honestly, there's an education portion on my end. And the more I do it, the more it just gets sold.
There's a huge education portion because what you have is, in a utopian world, you have a very logical product for an emotional problem, right? And you're making the assumption that people know that they're confused. But the problem is most people who are confused don't know that they're confused because it's an emotional problem that they're dealing with. So I think that your branding, I actually really like the product. And I would like to, my question before this all started was going to be about, like, how do you know the $45 is the right price? It does seem expensive to me. And how the heck do you know that you're going to sell 5 million of these unless you've done some user testing? So I think it would be useful for everybody to talk about the user testing a bit, but I will make a suggestion. This entire conversation says to me that you have to do a very big job on your branding. The messaging is too complicated and too difficult. And the problem is you're challenging people's intellect when they're not looking to have their intellect challenged. To Adam's point, I just take a supplement and I'm told it feels okay. And that's 80% of people. And yeah, you can go for the fanatical ones, but actually the fanatical ones are not going to make you a unicorn. It's the everybody that's going to make you a unicorn. So how do you make the Adams feel that actually for something which is not the most important thing in his life, it will actually make a difference? But yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about your research on how you've actually come up with the pricing and the growth strategy.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your feedback. So when it comes to the pricing, we are strategically priced compared to our indirect competitors. They run from $2 a month to $7, $8 a month, and from $40 a year to $75 a year. So we're right there. We're bringing much more value, as you can see on the competitive advantage. When it comes to the dietary supplement consumers, again, they're trying to track calories in general health and general product and nutrition and protein bars. We're tracking specialty product that actually we know exactly how much dosage in that product. So the game is completely different. And again, the product can be bioavailable, non-bioavailable. That's a different story. And when it comes to my projection, the 5 millions, we're talking our share of market of 74 million. The market is growing, and this is just the US alone. I mean, if we focus on just the yoga, meditation, wellness, and biohacking community, that's huge. By the time that, reaches the normal 80%, Brian, that they not confuse as they know it, and then figure it out, we have the freemium version that's actually going to help us kind of get this tool to everybody. Remember, we have a freemium version that lets you use limited features of the system, so you can see the value that brings to you. And then if you want to upgrade your level, you go to the plus. And then if you want to upgrade more, eventually to the unlimited with next level personalization.
Sami and investors, thank you for this amazing conversation. It was very interesting. We have to start our third speech.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to speaking
I
to you.
hope it
Thank you.
was helpful.
Thank you, Sami. Well
Thank you.
done.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we start to discuss measurement and how to measure and keep your data. And our next startup will be Heads Up Health, which helps to keep our data and quantify our benchmarks. Very, very, very popular in biohacking community already. Yeah, so Dave, are you ready to pitch? Where are you, Dave? I'm here. Mick, Dave is here. He wrote in chat.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please share your screen and
Okay.
introduce the amazing platform. Really helpful for biohackers.
Play from start. Okay. Has that loaded for everybody okay?
Yep.
Yep, we can see it. We can begin.
Great. So I want to be respectful of time. I'm just going to set a little timer here on my iPhone. And I understand about 10 minutes for the slides and then Q&A. Is that correct?
Yeah, we suggest 10 minutes for pitch and up to 20 minutes for Q&A session. Please take your time and we are listening to you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. It's great to be here and we're grateful for the opportunity. So thank you to the organizers. My name is Dave Korsunsky. I'm the founder of Heads Up, and we are a digital health platform. Specifically in digital health, we are focusing on providing an analytics platform. And the analytics platform that we've built is specifically designed for health optimization, longevity, and lifestyle medicine. So just a little bit about our team. Before starting this, I was at VMware in Palo Alto for 7 years. Brought virtualization and cloud into the largest EHR companies globally, Epic, Cerner, McKesson, GE, Fujimid. And then I went to work in Santa Clara for Cloud Physics, and that was a big data company. They were ingesting over 80 billion data points per day into Amazon and doing incredible analytics on the data, very similar to the infrastructure that we've built, although we're using health analytics. So I got to see the movie on how you do this when you're well funded. And Steve is a very experienced startup operations. He scaled AdventureLink's B2B SaaS company globally. His expertise is in user interface design, user experience design. Stephen has built numerous internet scale SaaS platforms, most recently at Sony, where he was responsible for Sony's online gaming platform. And then Alex comes from Epic, the global leader in EHR, and he spent 6 years in their enterprise analytics and population health team. So I don't think I really need to go into much detail here, but what we're seeing is an explosion in incredibly powerful sensors. There was a gentleman who spoke earlier and they had a CGM device, continuous glucose monitor. So those are starting to become more widespread. There are sophisticated wearables like the Oura Ring, like the Keto Mojo. We have direct-to-consumer genetic testing. We have the actual lab results. So there's an immense opportunity to actually bring this data together. And what we do is we pull this information together and we set up, essentially, we build custom portals. And these custom portals are designed specifically for the goals of the clinic. And it could be a weight loss clinic. It could be a longevity clinic. It could be a diabetes clinic. And we essentially build their ideal remote monitoring platform, exactly the devices and the metrics and the lab tests that they need to accurately measure the health of their population and have the analytics to do the outcomes at the individual and the aggregate level. So we're pulling this together and building very bespoke remote monitoring portals. So at the individual level, it's a portal that's deployed to you by your care professional, and it is pre-configured to allow you to set up the devices, and the information that is needed by the clinic on the other end. We can instantly connect to over 85% of the patient portals across the US. So regardless of where your medical history lives, we can now electronically sync that into the portal, make it available to any provider anywhere in the world. We pull in the devices that monitor lifestyle, continuous glucose monitors, sensors, wearables. We allow for very, very precise lifestyle medicine and lifestyle optimization. And it's the individual that has the data stored in their profile. They can connect with any provider they want, disconnect and take their data with them and roll back to an individual owned subscription. So we are not creating more fragments in the data. On the B2B side, we have a portal that is optimized for remote health monitoring. So it provides access to real-time data from an individual patient. There is HIPAA compliant video and chat. We are customizing this for each clinic's programs. We can white label it, embed it inside of an existing system, use it as a standalone system, use it for insurance billing, use it for wellness programs. And we are essentially enabling a very bespoke remote patient monitoring platform. A couple examples here. I'll focus on the middle one, the fasting method. This is Dr. Jason Fung, who started the fasting program up in Toronto, Canada. They have thousands of members that are using intermittent and extended fasting for health optimization, diabetes reversal, obesity management. We built a custom portal for the fasting method that helps them track amount of time an individual has fasted, glucose, ketones, heart rate, sleep, all the data that the fasting method needs to optimize and track outcomes. They have thousands of users on our system. They're doubling every 3 months in terms of the subscription revenue. So it's a very bespoke lifestyle monitoring portal. Ben Greenfield Fitness, they're launching their coaching program. We will be providing the portal for their system. UCSF, they're doing something very similar to Virta, where they're doing diabetes reversal using ketogenic therapy. So we're providing essentially the remote data, remote diagnostics for all of these lifestyle-based programs. Relatively good year in 2020, all things considered. We were able to launch this B2B portal and scale it up to about 20K in subscription revenue by the end of the year. And it's all coming from these clinics that are deploying the portal, using it for remote monitoring. It's a SaaS product, so it's all subscription revenue based. Our primary niche is in health optimization and lifestyle medicine. These are the types of providers who essentially need access to this data to support the way that they practice medicine. So these are very short sales cycles, very little red tape. They understand the value of the data, they're ready to pay for it. And this is where we're closing business very, very quickly. The pipeline for this year is incredibly strong, but we estimate about 400,000 of these practitioners, which you could call cash pay, wellness, functional health, in the initial target market. And we've got some decent unit economics building in terms of the LTV and the CAC and the estimated annual revenue that we're getting from these clinics. So this is the initial target market, and we will expand out from there. Pretty straightforward on the subscription revenue side. Like many digital health companies, we do have a direct-to-consumer version. That's not something we invest in. That's mostly organic. We have about 30 to 40,000 people who have signed up on the consumer side. That's where we do a lot of our new feature rollout, a lot of our UX refinement. It's kind of like a little QA department because they will crap all over us at the slightest little bug. But the real revenue is generated on the B2B side. Much like I mentioned in my previous role at the big data analytics company, we have a very similar architecture where we are ingesting data from patient portals, from sophisticated wearables, from genomic sources, from public data sets. All of this data is in Amazon AWS. And that's where our medical experts and software engineers and data scientists can then build the portals and the analytics that then roll out to these clinics for the remote monitoring use cases where they need outcomes data. It's a pretty sophisticated technology stack. It's a Ruby on Rails backend. It's all built using microservices, Kubernetes, Jenkins. It's very scalable. We are starting to see very strong demand outside the United States. In fact, the health optimization movement is growing quicker in New Zealand, Australia, and other parts of the world than it is here in the US. So we're getting ready to scale globally. Ultimately, long-term, this is a data play, and our analytics are getting more sophisticated. We've completed phase 1 of the IP strategy roadmap. We're now on phase 2, but getting increasingly sophisticated in how we can use this information to drive better health outcomes. Just a little bit on our trajectory. I started this when I was in Silicon Valley myself, and in the first few years, I was just working on this as a side project. Raised our first money in about July of 2017, passed about 10,000 beta users, started commercializing on the consumer side, launched our B2B business, and have just opened a preferred seed round, and I'll share details on that in a moment here. Revenue is broken down by individual subscribers, professional revenue, and then enterprise revenue. These are essentially more complicated deals where we're integrating inside of an existing system. We're doing custom development, white label. This is just sign up as a solopreneur practitioner and start using the product for your business. And then the consumer revenue is just straight subscription. We did open a seed preferred round. We have 1.1 million closed on the round so far. The lead investor is out of Colorado, Enosphere. They're a seed stage fund. Boston Harbor Angels also participating. It's on a 7 million pre. And then we have a really strong existing base of commercial clients already on the B2B side. And we're seeing incredibly strong demand. So we're looking to scale the B2B feature set as fast as possible. Continue to make sure that we have the best support matrix in the industry. So we are constantly adding the latest devices. We just added the Dexcom, continuous glucose monitor. We're now working on the Libre. So as soon as there's new tech on the market, we integrate it. So continuing our best-in-class support matrix and then continuing to expand globally. So I think that's all I've got on my 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Dear investors,
Great presentation.
Great startup.
Can I stop the share, or do you want me to leave the slides up for reference?
Please stop share your screen, and we will see all together.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk.
Hi, this is Lu from Future
Hi, Lu.
Fund. Sorry, I could not use my video right now, based in Silicon Valley. We did a lot of digital healthcare deal. So 2 quick questions. First thing is, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, 2 quick questions. The first thing is, could you tell a little bit more about the competitive landscape? And the second one is, how long in average and typically take your customer to integrate your solution? I assume your solution could be remote deployed. So how long typically gonna take?
Yeah, both great questions. Let me just start with a rough assessment of the competitive landscape. I had this slide in the appendix, but this is kind of how we see the market. You've got direct-to-consumer dashboard apps, and there's some good ones out there. Apple Health, Gyroscope. Surprisingly, there's not that many really attacking this fragmentation problem in the consumer space, but these ones here. You have the aggregators like Validic and Human API. There are limitations with their support matrix. Validic doesn't do anything on the medical record side, focusing mainly on devices and apps. Human API mostly focusing on the medical records, relatively light on the devices and apps. So they don't really have, either of them, the ability to pull together the clinical and the lifestyle data the way that we are. You have what I would call these small practice EHR systems, functional EHR systems. These are mainly scheduling and billing, and they're great, but they're not focusing on remote monitoring, remote analytics, and then various PHR platforms out there, mostly B2C, limited lifestyle data in many cases, limited analytics, limited ability to deploy inside of an existing workflow. So this is a rough swag at the competitive landscape. We have a more in-depth document in our data room, which I'd be happy to share at the appropriate time. And then in terms of the deployment question, so there's really 2 B2B products. The first is what we call Professional Edition. And that's a product that an individual practitioner or a clinic can sign up for. There's really no sales reps involved at all. They can go through our onboarding, start inviting clients, start building their remote monitoring platform, fully self-service. And those are the ones that we look to graduate up into our enterprise product. So I'll use the fasting method as an example, the company that I referenced earlier. They already had an existing portal with tens of thousands of users on it, and they wanted our dashboard integrated into their existing portal so that their customers still came through the front door of the fasting method. And that's where all of their other assets are: video training, educational content, and now the dashboard is integrated inside that platform. We typically charge anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for the initial setup, and that just depends on the complexity of the job. And then there's an ongoing subscription component that follows on as part of that. We're getting much better at deploying these as our product matures. There's actually no engineers involved in deploying these. We've built it in a way that it's all done through a configuration panel that any product manager can go into and essentially decide what features to restrict or enable or deploy. So I'd say it takes us maybe, depending on the complexity, we can have these spun up in a matter of a few hours. Some of the more complicated ones, can take 1 to 2 weeks, just depending on how fast the organization on the other side can move.
Great, thank you. It's very helpful. I'd be happy to continue conversation after this pitch session. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Lou.
Just real quick, I'll jump in there. Is there a subset of clinics, diabetes, longevity, that you feel will be particularly important to your revenue in this coming year, or is it sort of broad?
I would say we're seeing less demand for condition-specific solutions, and it kind of spans the range of all lifestyle-based medicine approaches. So the use cases range from high-performance biohacking to type 2 diabetes reversal using nutrition. Obviously, the metabolic health ones represent the largest opportunity. And we're working with some groups that are helping to develop a functional diabetes program, education content, curriculum, where we're then basically going to license that to clinics that want to do type 2 diabetes reversal. So the obvious ones are in the metabolic health, but we don't necessarily see a need to restrict ourselves. It's really just what metrics do you need to monitor to get the outcomes that you want.
And on the clinic side, what tends to be the most common objection to sale you get?
I would say that in some cases, it could be that, well, if they have an existing platform, we can integrate it into there. I would say that the companies that are coming to us are already very well qualified, and they already have a good sense that they want this. So it's less about objections to the sale, and it's more about making sure that we can get this implemented and get it rolling inside of their practice. It's still a very new part of the industry doing this type of remote lifestyle monitoring. So I can't point to a specific objection in the sales cycle that we're running into repeatedly. Actually, I can. It's mainly just having a more complete feature set. A lot of these practices want to dump their EHR system completely. Mm-hmm. And so they're saying, hey, I've got this thing. It's from 1995. I use it for scheduling, and I don't bill insurance. I'm using 10% of this EHR system. Can you just build these 2 features so I can dump that thing completely? And those are just items on our roadmap that we want to continue to roll out. So I guess to answer your question, it's just continuing to build out a feature complete product, which we have not executed on entirely to our roadmap yet.
Helpful, thanks.
Thank you. More questions? Any more questions?
What kind of a faster sales cycle? Can you just kind of elaborate on what you're seeing for a time? And then you also said some favorable CAC and LTV. Do you have any more insight you can specifically share on those?
Yeah, so you cut out a little bit, the timeline on the sales cycle?
Yeah, exactly. You said a faster, the clinics you're targeting probably are faster sales cycle than a traditional hospital. So kind of, can you just specify?
Yeah, we're in the cash pay wellness market. So we're working with high performance clinics, we're working with nutrition clinics, diabetes clinics. The sales cycles are infinitely different than going into traditional medicine. and they'll make decisions after 1 or 2 sales calls. It happens fast. They get it. They understand the data. There's not a lot of red tape. They don't need to go through approvals. They don't need to go through pilots. The cash pay market just happens fast. Boom, boom, boom. If we're going into traditional healthcare, we do have some opportunities in traditional healthcare looking to add this. Boy, it's 3 months before they even decide to get the pilot approved. So we always figured this would be the fastest path to grow the subscription revenue and play the long game, going into the larger sales cycles that take more time so that we don't die on the vine. So the cash pay market makes decisions very, very quickly. And we're seeing that play out. On the unit economics side, we launched this B2B product in earnest in March of last year. So we don't have a lot of data, but of the 12 or so customers we have on the enterprise side, we have an LTV of over $20,000 per account. They spend a lot of money. It's several $1,000s per month in subscription revenue, significant licensing fees. So the enterprise product has a very, very high LTV. On the pro side, which is just a monthly subscription for these smaller practices, the LTV is in the 400 to 500 range total. Just because it's still early, we still have some churn. It's a maturing product. The total number of customers is low. I think we've got maybe 100 commercial accounts on there, and you know, depending on the month, the CAC LTV ratio can range anywhere from 1.2 to 2 to 1. So we just need to get the volume up on the sales side and start getting those numbers looking better. But we've got every single detail and deal tracked meticulously, and we track the unit economics meticulously. So we're happy to share that entire customer waterfall so you can see how the business has matured.
What kind of defensibility do you have on what you're building other than the data? Or even if it is just the data, go into depth on what you're building there that's proprietary?
To be honest with you, the most common situation in a sales cycle is a clinic that says, hey, we wanted to build this ourselves because we need it and we couldn't find it. And now we saw how far along you guys are. How do we license your product?
Got it.
Everyone understands the painstaking work to go do these API integrations. And we're doing direct integrations in every case so that we can expose a lot of these very specialized metrics that you can't find in other platforms. And that's really how we're winning a lot of business. So I think the defensibility is first of all, just how far we've come on integrating all of these things. Second of all, it's the 4 years that we've spent refining the UX and the UI on the consumer side. We win a lot of deals just based on the UI. The bar is pretty low in healthcare when it comes to design. So just having a beautiful product and something that has been battle tested with 30, 40,000 consumers for 5 years. So it's really just, Wesley, how far we've gotten, and most companies just kind of resign themselves to licensing what we have. They shouldn't build this anyhow. They should focus on what they do, which is the medical side, and let us worry about fixing bugs with API uptime and UI glitches. And so we just completely take that off their plate. So it's really a lot of it is also just the amount of progress we've made in the last few years doing all of this. And then the data is a long game. Other comments or questions? I'm happy to provide a demo if anyone's interested. We're very proud of what we've built so far.
I may have missed it, but what's the use of funds? Like, where are you really going to focus on the next few years?
I think right now, Wesley, it's just continuing to build out the rest of the product roadmap. We've done extremely well with a very, very limited feature set. And so the faster we can expand the roadmap, I think the more of these opportunities that we'll be able to take down. We're really starting to displace a significant portion of the small market EHR systems. So there's a tremendous opportunity to accelerate that. Starting to advance the data science roadmap. That's painstaking work, as you know, when you've got a very, very complex data set. So there's work to be done on the data science side, but really on the B2B side, it's just about roadmap execution and scaling subscription revenue as fast as possible.
Yep, I'd be interested in the demo sometime.
Yeah, I see some questions in chat, and
Yeah.
I will send this
I
question.
can do it now. I don't know what you guys have time-wise. It's up to you.
We have one more startup.
Oh, okay. Well, happy to set it up for anybody offline.
Yeah, great presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Definitely would like to connect offline. Great presentation.
great.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, David.
Thanks, everyone. I'll sign off now.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Sounds great. And we are coming to our next pitch. Give me just 1 second. I will add Ray from Medify. So, okay, Ray is promoted. Okay, Ray, do you hear us? Are you with us?
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah,
Hey,
we
yes.
hear you. Let us see. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we can see you now.
Excellent.
Welcome, and let's begin with sharing your screen, and you can begin your presentation.
All right.
10 minutes presentation and 20 minutes Q&A.
Perfect. So I appreciate you guys having me. My name is Ray Harrington, and I am the CEO of Medify Incorporated. So Medify, we are a company that's focused on consumer lives using a wearable photobiomodulation product. Medify's goal is to become the clear-cut, safe, effective, and convenient leader for photobiomodulation. And hopefully during this presentation, we can show you exactly why. All right, so there is a clear financial and clinical impact in the global mental health market. So the total addressable market in mental health right now is 240 billion globally, 79 billion US domestic. So why is that? So pharmaceutical management in the industry right now, there is a high failure rate, which leads to the next step of the coordination of care, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation. To go from pharmaceutical management, you need 3 to 4 failed medication in multiple classes to receive any type of medical device treatment. That leaves 42 million untreated patients looking for non-traditional methods and/or ways to seek treatment. So essentially, that leads to constrained access, increasing cost, and poor outcomes, which we're looking specifically to navigate with our Titan IR technology. So Medify is an advanced photobiomodulation, aka PBM platform. We pride ourselves on 3 specific things: being a non-invasive wearable, providing advanced deep transcranial photobiomodulation, and we have a separate side product which actually provides personalized neuromodulation with our product line. So how does this work? Just like UV activates vitamin D in any human, our proprietary infrared light targets the brain, essentially increasing metabolic activity, which therefore increases cognitive benefits. Because we are not specifically stating an indication at this time, therefore we're not stating depression, anxiety, PTSD at this moment, we can essentially say from a wellness standpoint that we can help with stress management, increase mental acuity, therefore potentially boosting self-esteem. These are mandates that have been provided by the FDA, which we fully comply by, but we have a strategic advantage in our process and our platform, which we will show you here shortly. So how did we validate our product? On the left here, you're going to see a PET image, which has been done about 20 years ago. These images show a depressed brain and a non-depressed brain from an imaging standpoint. Transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is about a $500 billion addressable market right now, with companies like Neurostar and Brainsway leading the way, all pride themselves off of this left side data, which shows that low, you see the color up in the top left, you'll see the frontal cortex, you'll see dormancy, and if you just go to the bottom left, you'll see a heightened cortex, which equals non-depressed brain. So you jump over to the right here, the top right is an individual pre-Titan IR treatment, and you can see a bit of dormancy when it comes to the blue, when it comes to the yellow, when it comes to the red color. And then after 15 minutes of just an acute Titan IR treatment, you'll see at the bottom right there, you'll see heightened colors, which therefore equates to increased brain metabolism, increased blood flow, increased oxygen use, and increased glucose metabolism. And this is essentially how we validated our product to state that, number one, it works, and number two, we have some clinical efficacy once we start moving forward in our path. So does it have clinical studies? Absolutely. There are over 2,500 transcranial photobiomodulation clinical studies to date, specifically in the area that we're looking at in the cerebral cortex. There are over 100+ subjects studies in depression and anxiety, and their results range from anywhere from 40 to 90% improvement. Now let's skip down to the bottom piece, transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is my background. Their initial FDA approval came from 300 subjects for just depression, and it only showed a 50% improvement, which therefore we believe from the predicate studies that have been mandated or have been proven by the Harvard clinical scientists that we have a very great pathway in getting FDA approval and moving past that 50% improvement rate when it comes to our technology. So what does our market potential look like? When you break down the entire addressable market of 42 million patients, depression and anxiety lead that market. 5% market share when you break it down is about 3 billion in a total addressable market. We want to attack that market by, number one, providing a product that has a friendly price point. We also want to incorporate the providers, so meaning the psychiatrists, the therapists, and the primary care physicians to take a part of the cost fact, which we provide a provider distribution program, which is essentially a white label type program, which we can use consignment and or pre-purchase of goods that they can provide in their clinic. So therefore, we look at this market potential as we don't believe we can, get 100% of the market, but we believe with our platform and our technology that we can access a high level of percentage points in this market space. So our regulatory and commercial strategy. This is a busy slide and we understand that, but we want to keep it fairly simple. There's 3 aspects to this: general wellness, which what we're currently in. You have FDA Class 2 exempt, which we will be moving into in the second or Q2 of 2021. And then you have the de novo pathway, which is specifically for clear and concise depression and anxiety indications. You will need clinical studies for those. And with proper funding, we would look forward to moving into that. So where we're at right now, if you see that FDA Class 2 exemption, we're ahead of schedule, and we're looking to be the first photobiomodulation product that's going to have an FDA Class 2 clearance through an exemption protocol, which we strategically identified. So our pre-revenue business model is specifically going to be with our Titan IR headset. We do have a platform of products that are going to be looking at esports, biohacking, PTSD for active and military veterans, and traumatic brain injury for constituents like the National Football League. We're really, really excited about our Titan HD, which is, you'll see at the bottom, FNIRS. It's a full-powered office device, which will be the first device to provide a diagnostic imaging tool along with a treatment protocol to go along with it. So we're really excited about that device to really form out our platform. So our competitive overview. There aren't many photobiomodulation companies on the market. They're more versed in the biohacking world. We want to be the first company to actually provide it to, again, providers, psychiatrists, therapists. And from the competitive aspect, there's a company that's out there that is doing straight B2C, and they're not looking for any FDA pathway. There's a company called Violite, which is a Canadian company, and they're more so for neurodegenerative aspects. Now, our product has a sweet spot, which is specifically for mental health and wellness, which will have an FDA pathway, And that's why we believe our defensibility from a competitive overview will be fairly tight. So where are we at so far? Our founder and convertible round was around 105,000. We have allies with the FDA and with the National Institute of Mental Health. Our angel seed round, we're seeking 1.5 million for 20%. Use of funds will go to staffing, manufacturing, and commercialization. And then once we move forward and we look towards Series A, we're looking towards full commercialization and a distinct depression and anxiety clinical study, which will give us an indication and therefore put us on the fast track to an FDA breakthrough designation. Our market comps and verticals, specifically, we built this product to go so many different places: transcranial magnetic stimulation. We can go to PDT, precision digital therapeutics. We can also look at places like meditation apps because near infrared light has been proven to help with the meditative state. Our team has been around for a long time. We're well versed in the startup space, and we're actively seeking new and better people to come on board as we grow. We absolutely understand that there is a clinical need in the marketplace. The big thing is the physicians know it too, and some of the physicians are actively seeking products that will fit specifically within their portfolios as they treat patients. So we believe, to summarize, we believe Medify Photobiomodulation has great scalability. We already have 55 committed trial sites, and we hope people see the future as bright as we do. So greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hey, this is Tim Howe. Hi, Ray. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Will you tell us a little bit about the reimbursement issues in this market, and how is TMS reimbursed, and how do you think you'll price against TMS, and whether you have to be proven better than TMS to get the reimbursement?
Yeah, that is a highly loaded question. So I'll try to answer that from a clear and concise standpoint. So my background is TMS. I was an executive director at Neurostar Advanced Therapy. I helped them IPO in 2018, was part of the executive team. So the reimbursement aspect for TMS right now is nothing short of issues from a day-to-day basis. Reimbursement it's extremely hard to get reimbursed from the provider side, and extremely hard for consumers to actually get approved from a reimbursement standpoint. So it's a stalemate on both sides. The pricing from the reimbursement standpoint is fairly high for the providers, anywhere from California to New York, $6,000 to $12,000 per patient to be reimbursed for TMS. Here's the problem, Tim. You need to fail as a patient 3 to 4 failed medication in 2 different classes to receive any type of medical device treatment. That is the issue. That is the bottleneck. Where I came from, we understood that in executive meetings, and therefore that's why we created Medify. So therefore, we will not have to abide by any of those hurdles, so to speak. From our standpoint, we're going to utilize a cash pay program to start. We will not have to look at a reimbursement strategy until we're looking at receiving the clinical studies or to actually get approval for depression and anxiety. After that, if we choose to, we can go after a reimbursement pathway, which will beat TMS all day, every day, and it will actually beat medication from a long-term aspect. So that's why we're actually partnering with people like Kaiser Permanente, which is a self-insulated, self-insured, large healthcare industry, which essentially counts pennies. And they understand that by providing our photobiomodulation platform up front, they can actually help the patient get treated faster, which therefore improves their coordination of care. And at the end of the day, it improves their cash flow down the line. So convoluted answer, I apologize, but hopefully that fulfilled your question.
Let me understand that. You said use it up front. You mean as the first line?
Yes, so photobiomodulation can be used as a first-line treatment.
And so is that your clinical study plan?
No, so our clinical study plan is going to be used to be, the first aspect is to be increased cerebral blood flow. There are many studies that show if you increase cerebral blood flow, from a physician standpoint, if you can increase the time that a patient endures, let's just say an antidepressant. So typically an antidepressant takes about 4 to 6 weeks to take effect. If you can increase cerebral blood flow and that antidepressant can be reduced from 4 to 6 weeks to 2 to 3 weeks, we have a home run. That's the first thing we're going to look at from our clinical study standpoint. The second piece is going to be depression, and it's only going to be the improvement in depression. We don't need to state remission. We don't need to beat TMS. All we need to do is beat the largest clinical study, which is STAR-D from a pharmaceutical standpoint. At the fourth failed medication in the STAR-D data, there's only a 6.9% of achieving improvement and or remission. So I'll state that again, 6.9% after the fourth failed medication. Most patients have been on 3 times that amount through their antidepressant journey. So therefore, we really only need to beat 7%.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Ray, it's Jonathan Chang from Sartorian Ventures. Ray, a few years since I've touched on any technology that needs that deals with photobiomodulation, low-level laser therapy, etc. Obviously, laser, as you know, the history of lasers and the effects on humans has been long documented, 60 plus years since lasers became commercialized. And also along those lines, I'm familiar that certain light waves, including laser waves or different waves, can activate the mitochondrial systems, which of course then can increase productions in ATP. And if we go, I'm not a doctor, but if we go back to high school biology, ATP helps deal with pain and healing in the body. That all being said, I'm again, it's been a few years since I've seen any technology on this. Infrared, as far as I understand, does not penetrate the human body more than a couple millimeters, much less through the skull, much less into the brain. Now, that's not quite what you said, but I do worry. Number one, the way that you seem to be wanting to market this, much less presented, is as if this hits the human brain and somehow it activates or does some neat stuff to the human brain, which allows this. Now, I'm not denying that some of these studies have shown people being happier afterwards, because even if it's on our skull, it can penetrate the biggest organ in our body, the human skin. It can activate the ATP and people feel better. I'm just wondering, with all the competition out there, isn't getting naked in a big old light bed going to be far more effective? Or is there something along with what your technology does with the light waves that is new that I'm perhaps missing?
Yeah, so great question. So from just putting yourself in an infrared sauna, yes, you will get some of the benefits, but at the end of the day, the light waves, there are billions of light waves. And if you have specific light waves that are going to penetrate 1 to 3 centimeters deep, and especially in the brain, power, irradiance, and the depth are the key points to our essentially proprietary technology. So we took the 3 most clinically studied wavelengths specifically for brain, because you can activate cytochrome C oxidase and ATP, which you touched on, which is absolutely phenomenal. You can activate that in different aspects of the body. But for the brain, you need specific wavelengths and you need a specific power level. And if you are not meeting those, you will not have a beneficial clinical effect. So essentially, that's what we did. We took the guesswork out of all of that. So this is the only device that is geared towards a clinically effective power with clinically effective wavelengths. And these are done through multiple wavelengths. A lot of the infrared devices you see on the market really only have 1 or 2, and those 1 or 2 are typically in specific wavelength fields, 600 to 700 being more so derm and skin, where 800 plus is more so IR. And we are specifically in the 800 plus. IR, clinically specific for transcranial photobiomodulation.
Thank you. Love to learn more some other time offline.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Ray, is there anything proprietary about your wavelength power combination, or can someone else do the same thing?
Yeah, so someone else can do the same thing. From our standpoint, our patent pending is on our multiple wavelength platform at a specific power level. And so that's what our provisional patent has dictated. The design feature, so we do have a design patent around that as well. The next thing is essentially our digital therapeutics and our overall platform when it comes to the provider. Many of the, let's just say, light companies out there, they're more so B2C. We are specifically straight to the provider. We're going to be working with physicians and psychiatrists and therapists who don't have access to this product and or technology. So therefore, we believe our technology and our patents will hold strong through that process.
Have you any experience with like eNeura?
eNeura?
Yeah.
So I believe eNeura, correct me if I'm wrong, is more so of a transcranial direct stimulation, so electrical stimulation?
No, it's a portable TMS for migraine. Yeah. They've shrunk down their TMS machines to be the size of a small pillow to put on the back of your head. They've had some pretty good data for migraines. Unfortunately, they ran into the reimbursement block and unable to raise additional capital, and they folded. So you know that experience. One, there's two concerns with your model. Is one, TMS is getting smaller, shrinking their size, becoming more portable. They're already reimbursed. So as TMS continues to iterate much more quickly, that obviate the need for your technology. And then two, yeah, eNeura try to do, kind of B2C play, cash play. Again, ran into the issues of acquiring their customers, got too expensive, folded. Is that, are those two fronts definitely a concern for you, and how you guys going to be kind of rolling this out? Just want to get your thoughts for that.
Yeah, so so eNeura, I am familiar with eNeura just because of my longevity in the TMS space. So there's, and I just have to level set here. There is no small TMS machine. So TMS is electromagnetic energy and it's electromagnetic field. You cannot bend the laws of physics with that. The power of TMS has to be the power of TMS. You cannot shrink a TMS device. That's why Fisher-Wallace didn't do well. That's why eNeura didn't do well. Those are all direct stimulation devices that try to mimic TMS. So that's first and foremost, and that's why a lot of them fail. Another thing is their regulatory process. So we looked at this. Their regulatory process is a lot greater than our photobiomodulation platform. The regulatory process for something like eNeura and crossing the level from the reimbursement standpoint where they will always hit a wall is there's always a risk with any electrical stimulation device to subject the motor cortex, which can evoke a seizure. It's slim, but it's a risk and it's a chance. Now, their product, when they're trying to evoke that clinical magnetic field, it's never going to be to the level of TMS, and you always have that risk factor. So when we looked at it from our standpoint, how do you mitigate the most amount of risk, and how do you provide the maximum amount of clinical efficacy? And that's why we landed on photobiomodulation and our Titan IR product. We have none of the risks that any of the transcranial direct stimulation technologies have, and we're always going to be able to play in one of three categories. Now, therefore, eNeura can never play in the general wellness category. They always need a physician or provider to prescribe. Now, let's just say everything just crumbles beneath us and we took the eNeura path and the reimbursement aspects hit us. We still have a play in the general health and wellness because the American National Standards deems our product very low risk, where anything that tries to mimic TMS is a very high risk product. We don't believe that's going to happen to us. We We have great contacts at the FDA that have got us all the way to this aspect. And once we start working with reimbursement agencies, a lot of the companies don't do the due diligence in providing the coordination of care model for the reimbursement providers. And that's what we're doing for Kaiser right now. We work with that up front. We provide the maximum amount of clinical benefit, which therefore is going to give them a financial windfall on the back end. And then our product will be deemed for success from a reimbursement standpoint.
Ray, switching gears a little bit, let's assume that your technology works for a second, which I think you think it does. What is the impact on health span and longevity of being able to deliver this kind of these wavelengths and IR to the prefrontal cortex?
Yeah, so when you look at anything that increases cerebral blood flow, it helps from many different standpoints. And from the brain's aspect, a lot of us are on blue screens and blue light, and we're all starting to understand basically the crude effects that blue lights have on our body. And someone said earlier, the increase in ATP and energy, and therefore to counter the excessive blue light, to counter the excessive non-native attacks on our brain, we have to counter that with something. And that's where IR and red light come in. And we're starting to see from a clinical and or physician standpoint that these effects are helping people not only become mental acuity up, their stress management is increased. We're starting to see people feel better and do better in their workplace, therefore increasing their longevity and helping them, have more productive and active lives. And a more productive and active life is we hope is going to be a longer and more productive life. And that's what we're seeing, Wesley. Thank you.
And then a quick comment on let's say the consumer side or market, on what that would be used for there, and if you have any relationships there, and is it just an idea to go there, or you have a plan to go into that market?
Yeah, so we always have to keep the consumer market open, because we do have a consumer space, and it would behoove us, not to take advantage of that market. But our sole goal is to really go towards the provider market at first, because this is fairly simple. A lot of the consumer companies that have a clinical aspect, they actually excommunicate the providers and the physicians. And so once their company hits a plateau, the providers and physicians don't endorse them. When you add the providers and physicians up front, they endorse the product up front, leaving your consumer availability wide open. And so to answer the question, we don't have a distinct consumer view right now, because we really want to hone in on the 42 million untreated in the provider networks right now. And that's really the low-hanging fruit that we see and what we know. But after we conquer that bout, we will have a distinct, more so pharmaceutical looking consumer approach, and that'll come with our financial backing as well.
Okay, any more questions? I'm good. Julia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed our event. I invite you to our Biohacking Congress on March 2021. It will be 2 days on-site event in Silicon Valley, and I hope you can join us or watch us live. We will live stream all 2 days. We build this community because we are passionate about biohacking and happy to promote great health tech and biotech startups. Thank you for your help. Thank you for being with us.